I'm here with one of the greats, the legends of Singapore. He's so famous that people go to the other side of the street and bow when they see him. And I insist they do that, and rightly so. This is Vijay Mudaliar, one of the greats who's given us this space native. I've got lots of formal questions here, like how tall are you? What do you weigh? Do you have an Aadhaar card back in India? And how much property do you own in Singapore? But I won't ask him those questions. I've got better questions to ask you. To begin with, what's the origin and why the name Native?
So Native, this is our 8th year. And we wanted to set up a bar that was true to its location and its region. So everything that we do here works with like regional produce. So we use things from Singapore, spirits from India, like Indian whiskey, Indian gins, for example.
It's like the United Nations of entertainment.
Yeah, but just focusing on a closer region.
Oh,
yeah.
Absolutely. Fantastic idea. I thought of it first. I sent it to him. And no, I'm just kidding. Obviously, it's his idea. But I also read a little bit about the fact that this is not just making drinks, but making drinks which save the planet, which is a little difficult thing to digest because most people think if you're drinking, you're not saving the planet, you're doing the opposite. But you actually are. So what's that?
I think over here, one of the things that we focus on is trying to be a little bit more sustainable, I guess, in a sense of like how we use our
produce.
This
is a word they have to get used to. This is a big word here. Very big, right? In the Singapore culture, sustainable. Definitely. Everything is about sustainability. Yeah.
So it's really upcoming and we've been doing it for 8 years. You know, we've had our composting program for 8 years where we take leftover cuts and we compost it. And we have a little urban garden where we grow our micro herbs and it comes back to the restaurant. So something that people will consider waste.
Sorry to interrupt, but I have ADD and then I hear a word and I get upset and I can't focus on what you're saying. You said herbs. Is it herbs or herbs?
Herbs. I pronounce it as herbs. Like
you put the H in it.
Yeah, I put the H in it. I might be wrong.
It's economizing on words. Some people want to say herbs all the time. It's try to say H. From now on, it's herbs because Vijay says so. Fair enough. Sorry, I interrupted. I should never do that.
No worries.
So what is a micro herb?
So basically, it's like a herb that's just smaller. Like so, it's at its like infancy stage. Like we grow it for like 1 to 2 weeks, and at that stage, it's smaller. But imagine all the flavor of the seed is in something so small. Wow. So the flavor is explosive. Wow. So things like micro coriander is something that we grow.
Sorry, but can you give us an example? Like, so coriander, and then what would be the mix?
So like we take our compost, which is from our food waste, and then we grow, and then we grow like coriander seeds. We have different kinds of mustard seeds, for example.
Man, this sounds like a lot of hard work. You think... As a young man, you get a bar, you own a bar, lots of young girls come in, you're this popular guy, or the guys want to be your friend, etc., etc. But you're sounding more like a farmer.
Yeah, I think like in our industry especially, not just in Singapore, but globally, you're starting to see a lot more connection. Like people are starting to ask or look at history of like how we've always eaten, how we've always drank, and instead of a more luxurious way to eat and drink, people are looking at a more holistic way to eat and drink.
And non-destructive, I suppose. I think I'm understanding your native is not just native. Native is to do with the fact that it's all going back to sources which are, sort of circumventing and circulating and going back to each other.
100%, yeah.
So is that, so now see, I've understood there's a lot of thinking. I always think that you name a bar like, call it dumbbell. That's your bar because it's just like the word or something like that. But there's a lot of thought that goes into this. So I have to be very careful not to be too flippant. Vijay is also a 10-degree martial arts expert, as is every third person in Singapore, so you can't pick fights. Let's go back to how did the idea come? What's your background? Why are you in this business? Give us a little bit about the past.
So I was bartending for about a decade before we opened Native, and I was back in school.
So you were bartending in other bars just as a young kid to earn money?
Yeah, so I was in school looking for some part-time cash.
You were a school child who was a bartender? You were like 9?
I was.
Vijay, what's going on?
Police! Times 2. 9 times 2. I was 18, yeah.
18. Oh, you're like me. You took a long time to clear school, isn't it?
So I was 18 and I was looking for some spare cash, and I was working through the nights, paying my school fees, had some spare cash. I had myself a motorbike, So I was doing it through while I was getting my degree. And
the degree is in what? Sorry?
In marketing. Yeah, but halfway I dropped out.
But you are marketing. Oh, you dropped out.
Yeah, halfway I dropped out.
Why all the great stories about people who didn't finish their education? How do we sell education? We're just selling Singapore. But this is a point I want to raise one day. Yeah. I've met so many success stories and all of them don't complete their education.
I think it's about like going into the real world and then you just can't connect to
Or you just have the revelation that you know what you want to do, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, definitely, I think. And also it allows you to drop that safety net that you have a safe layer.
That middle class mentality that some of us have, where we just go on getting educated and there's no money in the fridge.
Yeah.
Never put money in the fridge. It's a stupid thing to do. I don't know why I said that. Yeah, so that's interesting. You have the guts, actually. It's easy to say now because you're successful. You've got this we'll talk about the second restaurant bar as well. But to do at that point, parents and all must have got a little worried.
I think worried.
Vijay's got a bike
I think worried.
no future.
Yeah, I think they were very worried, and I think my family's always been very supportive, but they just wanted to know that I could support myself. That was very important for them, and they did support my career, but it was a transition in that era about maybe 8 years ago to start up your own business, take that risk over here, especially where things can be quite straight. You go to school, you get a degree, you go to a bank, and now you go to a corporate job. And I was taking something different. I was trying something different. So I think they were worried for me. But yeah.
I can imagine. Because you're doing everything right all your life until that point.
Yeah.
Next thing, you're a bartender and they're like, okay, yeah, now I'll not educate myself further. Okay. I can see that going up a little bit. Yeah. So this whole process of getting into is a huge thing to go, because now you're an entrepreneur. It's one thing to have an idea. It's another thing to have this heart for nature and this connect. And I'm not rubbishing it at all, but I'm just trying to think how many young people think like that. That's the time when you don't think like that. As you get maybe 40, 50, you start maybe thinking a little bit about the world, the environment, humanity. That's the way we see it normally. But this moment has happened, this opening, this eureka moment at a very young age. Could you tell us why and how? Did something happen?
I think, especially for us in a creative industry, like in the food and drink industry, I think sometimes we're creative about certain things and then everything else, we forget about it. Like we're creative about the plate or the glass, and then things like ambience, music, or...
You should get into politics. I'll be voting for you. That's a fantastic point.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. You're absolutely right. So the things that we focus on are all the actually not so important things. And you're the first person to start thinking about how do we make this stuff? How does the earth survive? How does the world become better? Instead of what color is the drapes.
And also, I think looking at it as a blank canvas, we've been taught certain parts of the ingredients are good, tasty.
Right.
And we forget about the other ingredients, but we never asked why. Someone told you, and then your parents passed it on, and then you keep passing it on.
Can I give you a tip from what you just said? For example, as for people out there who are listening as well, people eat only the inside of the watermelon. Try eating the outside.
Yeah.
It's damn tasty.
And you can pickle it as well, the rinds.
Oh, you can?
Yeah, you
Damn
can.
you!
Yeah.
Vijay, you had to make me look bad every single time.
You can pickle it, and it's actually really tasty. So I think...
So you're quite the unconventional man, aren't you? Looking at things from different angles.
For sure,
yeah. So sorry, let's get back to that business proposal issue. So how did you get the bar running? Because you're a guy with a bike, parents who are a little worried. Yeah. So how does that happen?
It was a bit challenging because 8 years ago when I told people where especially in a country like Singapore, which is very progressive and is very connected to the world. So a lot of venues were opening that were trying to be like the rest of the world. And nobody wanted to do something local or regional, And for me, I found these ingredients really interesting because I grew up with them.
I don't think anyone had done it yet, right?
I think
in Singapore at least.
No, for sure no. Yeah. So what we did was we went to people and said, hey, we want to open a bar. It's going to be about local regional ingredients.
Hey Vijay, why didn't you come to me? I made your life. It's a great idea.
And 8 years ago, there was no Singapore spirit or even I would say a craft beer, something.
Really?
Yeah, so there was some beers upcoming, but
there was no
quality,
made in Singapore craft beer.
There was, but it was not to a global standard. And now we've got so many breweries. We've got 4 to 5 distilleries here with many different expressions. So I think we were in hope that we will start and everything else will follow. So when we first started the bar, we only had 7 bottles behind.
Wow. So you're the only customer.
Yeah. So I think we wanted to be a little ahead. We didn't want to wait for trends. It's something that we wanted to do and something that we wanted to represent.
And I don't know if you want to discuss this, but there's an Indian connection as well. We're going through I of course have no idea of brands. So I was reading them thinking they're foreign sounding. Amrut is very much like an Indian word. And it just went over my head. I thought maybe it's French or something because sometimes we have the same words in different languages. But so you've got you put in a lot of force in the Indian sort of market in terms of the alcohol you're serving.
100%. I think, especially in India, where there's so much history over the years, there's also been a culture of spirits being produced, and I think in the last 5 to 10 years, especially, these spirits are getting refined. India has to be one of the highest consumers of different spirits, such as rum and whiskey, and they're all internally produced. But now you're starting to see a refinement into quality, and I think people also want that, in India. So we have a lot of spirits emerging on our back bar, things like Indian whiskeys, Indian gins, Indian rums, wines, yes,
criminals. Oh no, just wines, just Pink City. Yeah. So if you're a young Indian, not young Indian, Indian of any age, come here because you get a taste of India, but you'll never lose the spirit of Singapore. Because Singapore is that, right? Singapore is that beautiful. This is what I feel. I've come here a lot, and I know it sounds like we're selling Singapore, and we're not. I love Singapore. I've always said that you can check anything I've ever done in my life. I love the city since 1997 when I came here for the first time. And what I like is it's inclusive. It brings everybody in. It's not one of those that pushes you out and says, this is us. And I think that's what Native's all about as well.
Yes.
In a sense.
Yes, that's what we try to do as well. I think in Singapore, it's always been a melting pot of different cultures. You can find so many different people and everybody coming together. And even the food scene, you're starting to see like a lot of cultures intertwined, borrowing each other's ingredients, So, yeah.
Yeah, that's the way it should be. Mix and match. That's what God's mighty plan was. He revealed it to me on Thursday, the 17th of January, many years ago. I won't get into that. But let's look at some of these formal questions so I don't miss them out, because the research team of 260 people have researched Vijay and Native and decided these are important questions. Okay, so what do you think is the future of food? And is there a sort of like message attached to the future of foods?
I think the future of food sees our culture being a bit more diverse. Like, we've always had a culture of eating certain different things, and that's affecting us right now. Things like beef, pork, milk, cheese, eggs, these are all overfarmed. And the reason is because the demand is too high. So the supply chain gets affected. So you're producing a lot and you're overproducing. And what happens is you eat into land space and, you have people farming things in an unethical way. So
I don't think Donald Trump will approve, but I'll go with this. Yeah.
So I think we have to be a bit more diverse because there's a lot of crops and stuff that are abundant, but we've just never included them in our diet, or we might not think that they are.
So we've gone berserk is what you're saying.
Yeah.
In terms of the few things that humanity wants, and they've overproduced and taken whatever measures to produce, which is the problem.
And if you look at, for example, beef, just the farming itself and how much of the cow do people actually even consume? They take a steak cut, the beautiful cut on your plate, and everything just gets thrown away. So I think people have to be a little bit more conscious of the way that they eat and drink.
All right. Let's go back to the beginning. So was it tough to get business in? Because you've got this, I would think the guy will come in and say irregular bar, in a sense. So initially, would the message be difficult to digest? Not to use a pun.
In the beginning, we had quite a bit of difficulties.
So how do you get the message across that this is, like a happening place and whatever? How does that change happen?
We just opened the doors and
free drinks.
No, we didn't do that at all.
Oh man, marketing 101. Vijay, you should have called me up. I would have given you such a boost. Yeah.
So what happened was we opened and it was really quiet for the first 6 months to a year, but we stuck to our ideals, Some people came in, they loved it. Some people, they hated it. But what happened is the people who loved it started forming like a ripple. And that effect has, in 8 years...
It's like a cult following in a sense.
Most importantly, the product has to be good.
True.
And also, one of the things that I think our customers enjoy and respect is that in the last 8 years, we haven't really switched. Like when things were not going well, we didn't drop the plan and
you kept going.
Yeah, people.
So you're like my marriage. Whatever happens, we just kept going and we're doing well. Today, touch wood before I destroy your restaurant. I'm a little clumsy. Yeah. It's easy to say when you look back now, but I'm sure it was tough times at that point.
It was really tough. Yeah, it was tough. So I think people respect that, and they started to see like, okay, if this place is going on for a long time, and people who didn't like it in the beginning because they were just not open-minded. You know, sometimes people come in with what they already want.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And if that doesn't fit their vision, they're not interested. So over time, you know, people who came back like, okay, how come this bar is filling up now? You know? And then we sort of changed their mind. And I've had customers who come in like 5 years later and they would tell me on a busy Friday night when it's really busy and we don't have too much time to chat, they'll be like, you know, when I first came, I absolutely didn't like it and I didn't get it, you know, and now like I finally get what you're trying to do. And like they had like a matrix moment and I'm like,
Yeah, so
what took you so long? It's 5 years.
but that's you've got a thoroughbred customer now. You got the real one because he's passed the test.
Yeah.
So he's seen the worst. It's like relationships. I tell my friend Antariksh, who's our producer here sitting on the side, that, you know, the best relationships are ones that start badly and get better. Because he's already seen the worst. Isn't it? The opposite is terrible, isn't it? Everything's very good, and then slowly they come and say, oh, I don't like this bar anymore, etc. Here they've grown into you.
Yeah, and I would say like doing a business, especially in a city like Singapore, right? It's a world-class city, overheads are high. So I would say that the business is always going to be like, it's like a curve, you know, you're always going to be up and down. But it's like how you react to those, like, don't think of it as a negative, you know, when things are not going well.
Let me write down all your pearls of wisdom. Business is like life. There's always going to be up and down. That's right. But always pay your GST on time.
Yeah, that's very important. Very important.
I want to just mention before I go back to the questions. So we're shooting in the morning here, late morning. Nothing's really open. It just sort of opened downstairs at one part of his bar and restaurant. And I got run over by 8 young Singaporean ladies. They just pushed me out of the way because they had to be there on time as the first door opened.
Yeah.
So there's some loyal customers because they were late. I think they were a little worried. So what are we doing here? Have they changed the staff for some reason? But yeah. So just to give you another hoot that it's a great place to be. Early in the morning, well before noon, there are people downstairs on a working day. It's a very busy city. Anyone who's been to Singapore, it's the busiest city in the world. There's nobody who doesn't work in Singapore, right?
Yeah, it's like possible. Yeah.
Everybody has to have a job. Everybody works. That's a bit difficult for my family to digest. But yes, there are people who do that with lots of effort. Let's go back to the climb of the young Vijay Mudaliar. How has your personal journey influenced your commitment to sustainable practices in mixology? This is a very difficult question, so if you don't like it, we'll just throw it away. Because your personal journey, I presume my research team thinks some anecdotes that have happened in your life, which are then mirrored into mixology.
I believe like, you know, one of the things was, especially in big cities like this where you don't usually farm your own produce or you get everything very quick.
Yeah.
And Singapore is great in the sense that it's convenient. It's super convenient. Like there's 24-hour supermarkets. It's really safe. People don't worry about things, you know. And you can get a plastic bag. You pay 10 cents or 20 cents in the supermarket, but people go like, okay, I'll do it instead of bringing their bags, you know. Yeah. So I think like when we were looking at that, you know, we've always thought a bit differently, I guess. So like one of the things was like I was always curious, like, you know, questioning why. I always had this sense. And like one day, you know, I was working at a previous bar and we had like beetroots that we made into a cocktail and the skins, we just threw them away. Yeah. I think that day the dustbin was like full. So I'm like, okay, I'm just going to put it in the dehydrator. And then it came out dry. And I ate into it, and then, you know, it's like
why did you eat into it?
It's like a little chip.
Yeah.
And you know, okay, we can dry this into a powder, and you know, that's when like we dusted the glass with the beetroot powder, and it looked beautiful, and it was like nice, deep purple.
So almost by accident.
Almost by accident, yeah. And then you know, once you open up a certain thought in your mind, then you don't stop. It starts like running. So I was like, what else can we do? You know, like why is it like, for example, like mammals, you know, when you eat like a fruit or what, they finish almost the entire part of the fruit, right?
Animals don't waste.
Yeah, so like how come as like humans, we only go for a specific part of like a fruit or a meat and stuff like that.
Bar owners and restaurateurs around the world, if they listen to this, are kicking themselves because they've wasted so much produce.
Yeah.
Because they haven't looked at the 80% that they've thrown away, which they could have used and been multimillionaires.
And if you're looking at our back bar, we do a lot of fermentation over here, you know, and a lot of preservation, which is huge in like Asian culture, you know, pickles and stuff like that.
Yeah, I was a little worried because first I saw that and I only seen this in doctors' offices, these colors and sort of, I just thought maybe it's some relatives you don't like, and you always have these dark stories in people's lives. So, but it's not. It's very much part of the fermentation, which we're going to go into that. We're going to actually have a demo, and he's going to teach us a little bit about that as well. But in fact, you mentioned how that Singapore, everything's ready-made, everything's ready. So how do you go about foraging for your wild ingredients, your organic? Because the whole thing is about being organic. So how do you do that then?
Once again, I was reading up a couple of books on like some global restaurants that do a bit of foraging. And I was like curious, I never thought about foraging ever, and like I was looking at some of the ingredients that they forage. I'm like, wow, this is really cool. You can go into the wild and bring back some ingredients. And I was walking down the street and I saw something called like a sorrel. And I saw the sorrel.
The sorrel.
Sorrel, it looks like a little clover, and it's like sour when you pop it.
You picked it off the street and
Yeah. So I saw it in the book, and I'm like,
this Indian, I tell you, what's going on?
So I saw it in the book, and it looked the same. So I was just like curious, So I popped it, and I was like, wow, it's like super flavorful. And then this thought process started in my head, and I started to meet like few eclectic, eccentric people,
I would say that's the nicest way to put it.
Yeah,
I mean, you're walking on the street, you pick up something like looks like a clover, and you just taste it, and then it's another way to make the world a safer place.
So I met
if it's a true story.
Yeah, so I posted it on Instagram and stuff,
okay.
and one of my
That
friends
makes it true. Huh.
I know someone who does this too. I'm like, okay, I never knew these people existed.
You got a little WhatsApp group or Insta
so we
group.
got a little group and we started going out and we started trying things. And Singapore being in such a tropical country, naturally, so many things just naturally grow over here.
This is great thinking, actually, when you think about it, because most people will say, look, we're a city-state, we're not a country. We don't have a rural area, so to speak, and all that.
Yeah.
But so you say, what the hell? What we got is what we got. Let's figure it out from what we got.
Yeah.
That's positive energy. Let me write it down.
Yeah.
What we got is what... Vijay, you're teaching me so much. I'm learning from the master. Teach me more. Yeah. Let's see what else we got. What does being local mean to you? This is an important question also because of the ethnicities of all I think the 4 major ethnicities of Singapore, etc. Plus the fact that it's like a blueprint for the rest of the world. I don't think there's any history of any bad behavior, disobedience, that kind of thing, how you guys manage. So what does being local mean to you? And I heard your Singapore slant and accent, so you're 100% the real thing.
Yeah. I think being Singaporean is very unique because like you mentioned, a lot of cultures come together in that cohesiveness, And one thing that I really enjoy growing up is everybody is rooted in their own culture, but they also connect with other cultures. Like for me, I'm of Indian heritage, but so we've grown up in the sense with really connected to food, religion, culture, stuff like that. But you also connect to other cultures. So like one of the things that is really interesting about Singapore is that Peranakan culture. Where it's a different mix of different people over the years.
Right.
And they formed a very unique style of...
and it's called?
Peranakan.
Peranakan.
And the food is really unique as well because it's like a mixture of different ingredients from different cultures, and I think that wraps up Singapore really well.
Wow. Okay, let's talk a little bit about your life growing up. Yeah. What is it like in Singapore? You're born and bred here.
Yeah. So, I think it was...
Did young Vijay steal money from anybody?
I think I was a bit of a...
Naughty boy?
Yes, for sure.
I thought so, because you're too correct right now.
Yeah, I gave my mom a lot of trouble growing up, but I think I was always been a bit more creative, a bit more...
Do you play sports?
Yeah. Football, a lot of football, yeah.
Wow.
I think growing up, my dream was to be a football player, but I think it crashed very early on.
Well, when the EPL scouts came, perhaps you were not there. You were busy picking up things from the road and putting them in your mouth. The guy, here's Mr. Klopp looking around saying, what is he doing? This great talent.
I'm a United fan. No.
The conversation's over. We both love Singapore and that's it. Oh no. What? United? They haven't won a thing.
Yeah.
They haven't. Why did they even bother? Sorry to say, but it's not been a good record for many years.
But you have to understand, like 1999, I was like 9 years old.
That's true. So you had a peak period growing up.
So as a kid, that was
I get what you're saying. That's a disaster because you grew up in the romance of Man United. We're invincible.
But I'm glad I did.
Yeah. So you got that dream. That dream's always there. Yeah. All right. Sustainability, man. Football's also about sustainability. All right. Tell us a little bit. So you went to college. You were going to do marketing, I presume, an MBA degree and that kind of thing. And then, of course, you took a turn at some point. But what were your interests when you were very young? Before this whole mixology, this couldn't have happened that early.
Yeah.
So what? Football and then.
I think just football. Like I think for a
You were
big
serious?
big part of my life is football, everything.
So you played at a certain level in Singapore.
I think I was that kid that could never get into that top level, but I've always wanted to.
For school and stuff.
No, I didn't get to school. Didn't get in school as well. In school, I actually did cross country, like running.
Wow.
So I was pretty good at that.
That's normally how Indians get into countries. Cross country.
I didn't enjoy it, but I was good at it, and like they wouldn't let me leave to go and play
Oh,
football.
they would let you do only one sport.
Yeah.
So you were too good at cross country, so you couldn't do football.
Yeah.
Wow, that's pretty sad.
Yeah.
And what were the other interests? What else do you like growing up?
I think I was just like
Were you a dancer, singer, artist?
I was
you were a
a-
creative bone for sure.
I think I was a very silly kid, to be honest.
You're in the right show.
Yeah.
You
So
can stay as long as you want, Vijay.
I was just like doing almost nothing, playing games, playing football, never staying at home, hanging out with friends, and only when like I got a bit older, then I got a bit more
Wow,
focused.
what a change that is, no?
Yeah.
Because
yeah.
you're like the juvenile. And then suddenly you're like this overmature guy at a young age who suddenly wants to save the world. And starting with Singapore, of course. And looking at things organically, how to produce it, how to make it, how to make Singapore self-sustaining to begin with. Wow, that's fantastic. Amazing how this change actually happened. Was it a girl? What's her name?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't. Yeah, it was probably mom, I think, like just yelling at me all the
Indian. This is what called an Indian jawab. I'm asking him who's a girl, he says mom. Ma, and then you hear the bells in the background, the mandir bells are playing. Tick, 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 tick. Okay, that's great. But let's talk about the second venture. We don't have too much time. So there's another venture, which I think you vaguely mentioned as well, which is not close, a little further away. Okay, so what's that?
So our new venture is called Analog. And analog basically means a thing or person comparable to another.
Yeah.
And
Was that it?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's two meanings to analog, and that's one of the meanings. And we looked at like things that are overfarmed in the industry, or things that we wanted to create a change in our food and drink industry. So we wrote down a list, and things like overfarming, materials, and accessibility was a big part of things that we wanted to change. So a lot of overfarmed ingredients come from beef, pork, milk, cheese, eggs. So we eradicate that, and the venue is entirely plant-based.
Wow.
Yeah.
Pure plant-based.
Yes.
And offline, you told me a beautiful secret for a recovering diabetic, who I may or may not be.
Yeah.
And that is, you give us...
Everything is like cane sugar free.
Yes! Not to get too excited, but finally, a place where I can order without looking. Someday though.
So I think we wanted to look at like accessibility, the kind of people that we were serving as well. It's always this luxury market that, in the F&B scene we're trying to serve. But we wanted to give a few more options to many different kinds of people,
Yeah, but also the luxury market, as you say, I'm just thinking back in time when they started the business of bars and alcohol or whatever, the first person selling the first drink had to, push it at some point. So what you're doing is you're just changing the palette a little bit or changing the dream a little bit, and you push it, and then after some time that becomes the norm for the day,
yes,
right?
yes, I
It's
agree
not
with
like
you, yeah.
that's how it works in any case, I would think, over the years. And what I can't understand is nobody's thinking about this sugar-free, plant-based, all these options are there, and taste-wise, how are we doing?
Fantastic, I think, because sugar is one of the flavor retainers, but it's also not good for
Dangerous.
you. Refined
Yeah.
sugar. So it's not good for you in any sense, So we try to eradicate it and, be a bit more accessible. So we have people coming to our venues, they can't take sugars, they can't drink alcohol for certain reasons, and some of them are even allergic or expecting. So I think we are able to serve a wider range of audience, and in this day and age, people are so diverse.
I can't understand because everybody's worried about sugar. The only good sugar I know is this Cocker Spaniel in the building next to mine. But other than that, everybody knows sugar is bad. We can't lie. In small quantities, not bad, but it is bad over a period of time.
Yeah.
So I'm just thinking this could actually overrun conventional bars, conventional food places, conventional restaurants at some point if the taste starts getting, more palatable.
That's what we are hoping for. And I would say we were worried when we first opened Analog because we didn't know what the consumer base would be like. But it's really impressive right now that 7 to 8 out of 10 consumers are not even plant-based, but they come for food.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So I think people are a little bit more open-minded these days. So maybe in a week, you might be an omnivore or even a carnivore, but in a week, maybe you want to just balance it out or you want to try something unique.
Oh, something like that happened to me at a Miss India contest. You know, I went in with a closed mind and then I won, you know. No, I'm kidding. Listen, I would like some equity in this new venture of yours. I feel it's the future. I just feel it's waiting to explode, you know, and just suddenly it's going to, a bit like Bitcoin. Of course, Bitcoin took a back seat, but it'll come back again. So I'm just wondering whether right place, right time is important. I'm in Singapore, right place, right time. So boys, get the contract. We'll work this out. Give me something. I'm going to push all the people from India to come here, and then you'll take it to beyond Singapore as well. So we'll be rolling in it. We'll be rolling in plant-based money. Okay.
New
And money
currency.
comes from
You
a
have a
plant.
new currency
new
in mind.
There you go.
Plant-based
There you
currency.
go. Yeah. So speaking of, from a business angle, do you feel the growth is there? The new growth will be there in this kind of unconventional, if you like, or neo, if you like?
Yeah, definitely. And you know, for us, we always focus on the people that are alike, you know, or people who are interested in what we do. And that's how we've always grown. And, you know, one of the things that captures people when they come to analog is the bar top is actually made out of recycled plastic bottles.
Oh, wow.
It's 3D printed from 1,600 kgs of recycled plastic.
Somebody's been drinking.
Yeah, so people look at it and they always touch it and they're like, what material is it, you know? And we say plastic. And they are like quite surprised because we also change people's perception of like plastics. You know, it's always seen as a negative and it is harmful for the earth if you distribute it wrongly and it goes into ocean streams and stuff. But imagine you can take 1,600 kg of plastics and make it into a bar top.
And it's there forever.
Yeah, imagine if slowly everybody starts incorporating this idea, how much of, you know, plastics don't even need to be recycled but could be made into something.
And the best part is your supply chain is actually, it should be, there should be no cost to it. There's no cost to company in a sense because waste matters sometimes if you look at it from that point of view. Business point of view, I think it's genius.
But it was surprising that bar top cost us more than like marble. For something that people will throw away.
I need a drink.
Yeah. I need one too.
Yeah. Oh, it's amazing. So your entire approach is unconventional and you're fearless, I would say, in many ways. Because from the day you let go of that motorbike and that MBA, turned your life around and you're doing all this. So
I crashed a motorbike also. So.
You did?
Yeah.
What happened?
I was in the expressway, young, going too fast.
Was she worth it?
No. I think like it was a great bike, but I think it was me. I was not at the right time.
Hey, Vijay,
not at the right time.
You always remember the bike. This is the thing about men.
Yeah.
Well, there's one thing we have to discuss here. We've done some research and top 50 bars in the world. There are more than 6 billion bars and we don't even know how many there are in North Korea. So there's many bars all over the world and he's in the top 50. That's huge, bro.
Yeah, I think it's hopefully it's because of the product that we serve. You know, we are very focused in what we do, and I think it allows us to stand out. And
have you put a plaque outside? Top 50, soon to be top 10.
No, we don't really do that.
Don't like that.
I think we're obviously very proud of it, but I think we want people to come in, have the products, and then say, "Wow, this is like the best bar I've ever been to." You know.
Top 50, but also in Asia, even higher the number. Probably top 10, top 20.
We've been through different phases over the years. So it's like it's a little up, down in the list. Yeah, but we're still in.
But always there somewhere.
Yeah.
From Sensex terms, it's a good buy. Stay with this equity, you're going places, nothing to worry about. All right, I want to ask you this one question because you seem like one of those guys who's completely, I wouldn't say work obsessed, but you've got like this vision. See, some people come to work, they do their work and they go, they switch on, switch off. But you seem to be one of those entrepreneurs who's, he's got this vision. I've got to do things my way. And work doesn't end here because you've got your supply chain you're thinking of, which is organic. So how do you actually relax? How does Vijay get out of this mindset and what do you do?
I started a bit of jiu-jitsu like 3 years
It's
ago.
for the drunk guys, no?
Yeah. So I think it's my little way of like releasing some steam, keeping fit. Yeah.
Wow. This is aggressive, man. I'm getting very scared. Let's go back a little bit here. So this is like the jiu-jitsu is the one where you proper contact, right?
It's like the chokes and all that stuff, like ground grappling kind of things. Yeah. So I do enjoy it. I'm not very good at it. I'm still learning, but like it's a way to.
It's not a sport you want to be not good at.
Yeah.
Come on. You're the guy they throw down all the time. Yeah.
Yeah, and also spending time with my daughter helps quite a bit, you know.
Bit of jujitsu there as well if she's young.
No. I wanted to get involved, but she doesn't seem very interested now. So,
Really?
yeah.
How old is she?
She's only 3, so I'm like, try this.
Can I tell you, my daughter is 16.
Yeah.
And we're like, people say, your daughter shouldn't be with you all the time. But they're very different from sons.
Yeah.
They never leave.
Yeah.
Good,
That's a good thing.
good investment.
Yeah.
Good investment.
Yeah.
That along with the 2 bars. Any plans for any more?
Hopefully she'll take over one day, you know.
Why
that's the
not?
plan, yeah.
You've created a brand. Native is a brand. You're a brand. I'm sure it's going to grow from here. So will there be more?
We have some really cool ideas, but maybe we might look into the next few years.
If you're looking for money, the people who watch this show, millionaires. I mean, those are the poor ones. And then, of course, there's the super rich. I mean, Elon, he was on the phone. Elon ko bol baad mein phone karta. He keeps calling up in the middle. And I've got lots of big friends here. And they like what you do. And the main thing is you are what you are. You're not one of those fraud people who pretends to be an environmentalist. You've just built the whole thing on that. On this mixology, which we changed to puja and then re-changed to mixology. On the subject of Singapore, another thing, Vijay, what about the neighborhood? This neighborhood is a buzzing neighborhood, apparently.
So we're in Amoy Street, and it's a beautiful place if you want to eat and drink. I think in this street itself, there's about 3 Michelin star restaurants and about maybe 4 top 50 cocktail bars.
Mm-hmm.
So in 200 meters, in one night, you can cover...
Top 50 cocktail bars, there's 3 of them.
Yeah, 3 to 4, yeah.
This is the street to be.
So if you're looking for a place to eat and drink, this is definitely a place you should come because in a given night, you can cover so much ground in such a...
So is it fair if they come here and they go to any of the other bars, outside Native, of course, and Analog, if they come here, can they just use your name and get their discounts and all? Because my people are a little different sometimes. So
No, I don't think it's possible. I've used up all of it already.
Damn you, man! I got to give them something.
There's nothing left for 2024. I used up the...
All right, that's fair. That's fair. So don't miss. You got to be on the street. This is a street where the action never ends.
And also culturally, it's a really great street as well because it's a blend of old and new. It's all like shop houses. So like where we are right now.
What's a shop house?
This building that we are in right now, you can see it's a little bit more like vintage comfort.
Yeah, I
feel.
saw that.
Yeah, so it's about 200 years old, and a lot of it has still a lot of the natural.
So it's called
intakes.
a shop house.
Shop house is what we call it.
Okay.
And it's around the CBD, so it's around tall buildings and stuff. But when you come here, it's really cozy. A lot of restaurant, bars, cafes, and no matter what your budget, from like being in the hawker, from $4 to $5 to...
I had some chicken rice thingy for about $3.
Yeah.
$3, I think, which is as good as it gets, right?
So like you could get $3 to $300 in this area.
I'll go up to $3. I'll stay with that for a little while, and as my life gets better,
you save for the 300.
Step by step. Yeah. Fair enough. How much does the drink cost? Average.
The drinks cost over here about $25 to $28.
All right. To get the missus a little high, I would need about $75 and a cab to drop her home. Then I flirt with the other ladies. Okay, got it. My plan's all there. Thanks so much.